Welcome to Fearless with Jason Whitlock. I am Jason Whitlock, your host. Thank you so much for joining me. Happy Wednesday. When I say I have an awesome show planned for us today, I really mean it because anytime, and it's been a while, that I can do a full analogy about the show The Wire. You know I love these are my favorite shows, and I got a great one today. I got a story and a topic that no one else is really talking about because they don't know what they're hearing, they don't know what they're listening for, they don't know where to look. But we have signs of a brewing conflict in Baltimore with Lamar Jackson and the Baltimore Ravens and owner Steve Bisciotti. And I'm not sure if anyone's going to catch on to this other than me and this show, or maybe after people see this, they'll catch on to this and their spidey senses will go off. But there's trouble in Baltimore, and it was laid out yesterday in a season-ending press conference by the Ravens owner, Steve Bisciotti, and their general manager, Eric DeCosta, I believe is his name. That was a fascinating press conference. That what's going on in Baltimore is more interesting at this point, given that we're now almost 24 hours removed from Mike Tomlin stepping down with the Pittsburgh Steelers. We'll cover that today as well. But man, I'm so fired up about this Lamar Jackson, Baltimore Ravens, just brewing conflict. So I can't wait to get into that. I can't wait to talk about Mike Tomlin. We'll do that with Steve Kiim. I'm going to double back and talk more about this Lynn Jones, Jacksonville Jaguars deal. I want to do that with Steve Kiim, get his take on it. I have more thoughts on Pat McAfee's comments and just what this all means for ESPN and the media. What else do I got cooked up here? Gerald McCoy is calling Caleb Williams the Bears' greatest quarterback of all time. He's doing that. He's played 2 seasons, and he's already the greatest Bears quarterback. We'll look into that. Colin Cowherd, my former colleague and friend at Fox Sports, continues to go off the rails from time to time with these crazy quarterback takes, and he's got another one on Ty Simpson, the Alabama quarterback. It kind of reminds me of what Cowherd had to say about Shedeur Sanders, but we'll reset and replay that. And then at the end of the show, I'll have Jay Skapinac, join myself and Steve Kiim, and we will discuss. I'm going to start the show. You talk about being excited. Seriously, when I can make these TV analogies, that's what gets me fired up, or movie analogies. So we're going to start the show with an analogy about Avon, Barksdale, and Stringer Bell and The Wire. And we're going to end the show with an analogy between Rich Paul and LeBron James, and we're going to analogize them to Tommy Egan and Ghost St. Patrick from the horrendous television show Power. And I know just even me saying that Power is hot garbage will be controversial to some, but it is. Power is basically The Wire for retards. And so and I know that's going to offend a lot of you. If you enjoyed Power, if Power is one of your favorite TV shows, it is a sign that you're retarded. And, I'm just sorry. Power, 50 Cent, if you're watching, hear this, someone puts this in your face. Power is The Wire for retards. And I guess there's a lot of retards because there's a lot of people that swear by Power. But anyway, I'll make an analogy about Tommy Egan and Ghost St. Patrick. I think it's James Ghost St. Patrick. Ghost and Tommy were kind of like the Avon and Stringer of Power. Anyway, fantastic show. Give me a second. I want to start off by thanking one of our great sponsors that's come back to us in 2026, and that's Relief Factor. You guys know I've incorporated Relief Factor into my daily routine. It helps me fight the joint pain and just the aches and pains that come from inflammation. It's Relief Factor is 100% drug-free daily supplement that you take that fights inflammation naturally. And Relief Factor, look, it doesn't work for absolutely everybody, but it works for about 75% of the people that try it. And 75% of the people, or 70 people, there's a way to try it for just $20, $19.95, the 3-week Quick Start program. And 75% of the people that try the 3-week Quick Start program, they circle back and re-up because they're already experiencing the benefits, the relief, the inflammation relief from Relief Factor. So for $20, $19.95, those of you sitting at home right now going, oh man, I can't do what I used to do, these aches and pains. I can't take that long wife with my sweetheart. I can't ride my bicycle like I used to. I can't go up and down these stairs like I want to. For $20, you can find out if Relief Factor is a potential solution for you. It works for me. It's why I'm able to exercise and get on the Stairmaster every single day. It's why I'm more active. I've told you guys repeatedly about my friend Jeffrey Steele, the country music legend. He's in the Country Music Hall of Fame. Jeffrey writes about every great song you ever hear in country music. Jeffrey's 64, and he bikes 30 miles every single morning. It's raining here in Nashville, and Jeffrey's probably out there right now on his bike, but part of the reason he can do it is because he takes Relief Factor. He swears by it. Don't be cheap. Don't be a dummy. Whip out $20 and try Relief Factor. There's 2 ways to get it. Go to relieffactor.com or call 1-800-4-RELIEF. That's 1-800, the number 4-RELIEF. Thank you, Relief Factor, for sticking with me and us, and thank you for all the inflammation help you've helped me fight. All right, let's get into today's show. I just the Ravens wire. I love our little, we call that an OTS, an over the shoulder, that graphic that's over the shoulder. The Ravens wire, the coming 9th season. And so that's Lamar Jackson as Stringer Bell. And in the background in the hat, that is Steve Bisciotti, the owner of the Ravens, as Avon Barksdale. And then you see me in the front windshield, and that's where Jimmy McNulty was. If you ever go see the 3rd season, the poster or whatever that they have promoting the 3rd season of The Wire, that's me as Jimmy McNulty, the cop who's the detective that figures out, that's tracking Avon and Stringer. And so I'm the guy tracking Lamar Jackson and Steve Bisciotti. And man, their press conference, Steve's press conference yesterday was really fascinating. So let me just start playing these excerpts from the press conference, and then I will react and frame up to you why I think there's trouble brewing between these two. For those of you that watch The Wire, you know that there were signs like, man, Stringer and Avon, they're not on the same page. Man, you could see it in season 1 or season 2. I can't remember which it was when Avon's in jail. I think it's season 2. Avon's in jail, and they've lost all their muscle because some other guys went to jail with Avon over their drug dealing and whatnot. And they had to bring in muscle from New York, Brother Mouzon. And Stringer, didn't want to do it and got crossways with Brother Mouzon and did some double dealing behind the back of Avon, who was at the top of the organization. It was the Barksdale drug crime ring. Stringer was his number 2. Stringer went behind Avon's back, and you can see oh man, that's going to be a problem. These two guys, longtime friends, they grew up together. They're like brothers, but oh man, that's going to be a problem. You can't go behind Avon's back like that. And then at some point, Stringer went behind Avon's back and killed Avon's nephew, D'Angelo Barksdale. And you're like, oh, man, that's going to be a problem. At some point, these two business partners, lifelong friends, are going to come to a head, and somebody's going to have to go. And eventually it was Stringer Bell. And we saw signs yesterday at this season-ending Baltimore Ravens press conference like, oh, man, we're 8 seasons in to the Lamar Jackson, Ravens, Steve Bisciotti partnership. And, like, at this press conference, I'm like, oh, that's going to be a problem. Steve Bisciotti is kind of growing tired of Lamar Jackson and spent an entire postseason press conference putting Lamar Jackson in his place. And some of this isn't really even Lamar Jackson's fault. It's no doing of Lamar. It's what the Lamar Jackson groupies in the media are doing to Lamar and how they're gassing Lamar up. And we're in this player empowerment era, and we gas up all of these black athletes. You got to take control. You got to have a voice in the organization. You got to have a say in the organization. And so there was this line of questioning yesterday because the Ravens have fired John Harbaugh. And there's this line of questioning that's all related to, how much influence does Lamar have? Have you checked in with Lamar about who the head coach should be? How involved in the process will Lamar be? And Steve Bisciotti very delicately but very firmly handled these questions and let everybody know, if you were listening and paying attention, it's like, hey, man, we love Lamar Jackson, but he ain't running SHIT over here. None of these players are. Lamar's basically a child that has no interest in running anything, has no interest in having any say-so. He's a child that likes to play quarterback on Sundays, play video games throughout the rest of the week, smoke a little weed, and fantasize about being down in Florida where it's hotter than it is here in Baltimore. He's not a decision maker. He's not a leader. But let me play the clips and help you understand what Steve Bisciotti is actually saying here. And so we're going to start with, in this initial one, we're going to start with shot number 1, where Steve Bisciotti takes I hate to call it a shot, but he's just being honest about Lamar Jackson. Doesn't call him out by name here, but just mentions like, hey, man, we've had players that, man, they ball out in the regular season, and then they back off in the postseason. Play shot 1.
We have underperformed based on our seeding in the playoffs. Very disappointing. A lot of players involved, a lot of our great players involved, making mistakes that they don't make during the regular season very often. But I just thought it was something that in the last 10 years, we've won the 3rd most games in the NFL, and yet people were saying we were underachievers. And so we were, and we had to own that.
Did you catch that? Many of our great players have made mistakes in the postseason that they didn't do in the regular season. And if you remember, not this past year because the Ravens didn't qualify for the playoffs this year, but the previous year, Lamar Jackson went through this season where he only had like 5 or 6 turnovers, 5 or 6 interceptions, and then got in the postseason, threw a bunch of interceptions, and they lost. That's who Steve Bisciotti's talking about. And he's not doing it to be malicious. He's doing it to set a tone with the media and to clarify for everybody, for the Ryan Clarks of the world and the Stephen A. Smiths and the Shannon Sharps and all the Lamar Jackson cult members. Like, hey, man, we know exactly who Lamar Jackson is. This is the beginning of him setting a tone and letting everybody know that now we know who Lamar is, And Lamar Jackson, and again, I put out a billboard promoting today's show where I used a Wire quote where, Avon and Stringer had this big confrontation in I think the second to last episode of season 3. And Avon told Stringer Bell, like, hey, man, you a man with no country. What I see is a man with no country who's not hard enough for the streets and maybe, just maybe, not smart enough for them people out there. And he was talking about Stringer, who got, Stringer wanted to be a businessman. And Avon was like, man, I'm just a gangster. And, we deal dope and we run these corners and we run these streets. I don't want to be nothing else. And Stringer wanted to be a businessman and he wanted to transition out. And Avon was like, man, you crazy. You're not hard enough for the streets. That's why you want out of this. And you're not smart enough for Clay Davis and these people that are making fools out of you and stealing money from you. And I'm telling you, what Bisciotti does in this press conference over the course of an hour, and it's an hour-long press conference, he's like, man, Lamar may not be hard enough for a 17-game schedule. Keeps getting hurt, keeps missing games. And he may not be smart enough to play this game from the pocket and protect himself. That's the situation. So when Stringer and Avon and this all came to a head, they had this big argument, and Avon let it be known, like, hey, man, you ain't all that you think you are. And you better come back here and just play your position because you're way out over your skis. And I'm telling you, Bisciotti, and I'm about to play some more clips, he's not really talking to Lamar Jackson because Lamar Jackson actually knows his position. It's all the Lamar groupies that want Lamar to get out of his position and to want to start calling shots and making decisions and be one of these player empowerment guys. And so I'm just telling you, they just kept coming back to, did you consult with Lamar on that? How much say so? Is Lamar going to be a part of the interview process for a new coach? Let's move to shot number 2 where Steve Bisciotti breaks down, like, here was the process of what transpired between me and Lamar as it related to firing John Harbaugh. Play shot 2.
Steve, did you speak with Lamar before you made the decision, and how would you characterize the influence he or other players' opinions on the situation had on your decision?
Yeah, I talked to a bunch of the veterans. It's funny. As you all know, you've gotten to know Lamar about as well as I have. And Lamar is really, really a non-confrontational person. And when I spoke to him Monday night, he said to me, everybody's saying I got a problem with Monken. I don't really have a problem with Monken. I don't know where that comes from. And he said, and then I hear I've got a problem with Harbs, and I don't have a problem with Harbs. I don't know where that comes from. We got to make changes? Probably, but that's probably more for you and E. And I said, well, your opinion matters. And we talked about it. And but again, he was one of the many. I'm going to turn my phone off before it starts ringing. Didn't put it on vibrate. And so, yeah, I mean, I don't think that the players had really a large part of my decision. My partners here probably had, that's an 80-20 thing. And I don't think I'd be a very good leader if I didn't ask the heads of the top players in my organization that have been here the longest. And you can bet they're the ones that have been here the longest.
Did you catch that? They ask about Lamar, and Steve quickly says, no, I talked to a lot of our veteran players. And he's not narrowing anything down to Lamar Jackson. Lamar Jackson is his quarterback who's struggling to play 17 games. And Steve Bisciotti just told you, if you're really listening and you can interpret what he says, when the owner of the Ravens says, hey, man, y'all know Lamar as well as I do. Lamar's a non-confrontational person. Let me translate that for you. What he's saying is Lamar Jackson is not a leader. Because it's not that leaders look for confrontation, but they're not afraid of confrontation. They don't avoid confrontation. They don't avoid conflict. They settle conflict. They engage in conflict and settle it through their charismatic personality. That's not Lamar Jackson. Lamar Jackson goes out on the field and plays, and that's how he settles conflict. Oh, you think I can't play? I'm not going to sit here and argue and debate with you whether I can play NFL quarterback. I'm going to go out on the field and I'm going to show you. And so he's an action person, and he knows what he can actually do, and that's play quarterback, make enough plays with his arms and feet to be an exceptional quarterback, but that's it. He's not a leader. They don't have the traditional quarterback leadership with Lamar Jackson. They have a guy that goes out and makes plays when he's healthy. That's it. The man just said, like, Lamar Jackson just told him, and he's what they call dry snitching, and I don't mean that in a negative way. But he's just like telling you, like, Lamar never came to us and said he had a problem with Todd Monken, our offensive coordinator. Those rumors are crazy. Don't you understand who Lamar is? He doesn't do that. Lamar Jackson doesn't have a problem with John Harbaugh. He's a non-confrontational person. He wants everybody to get along. Lamar Jackson, and I think the more of these comments come out, and we'll play them, what he's really saying is Lamar Jackson likes to play quarterback, likes to play video games, likes to smoke weed, and again, likes to travel home to Miami in that hot weather and have a little fun. That's what Lamar Jackson is and does. This whole player empowerment thing. This whole Lamar having a say in this, that, or a third. That's not Lamar Jackson. And if y'all keep trying to push Lamar Jackson out here, Lamar Jackson is going to run into some major headwinds from this billionaire owner who is not afraid of Lamar Jackson, not afraid of the media, not afraid of the racial idolaters in the media. It's like, hey, man, how you going to criticize me? I had Ozzie Newsome as our general manager. We took and developed Lamar Jackson when no one else would. So y'all can miss me with any complaints about me being racist or unfair. We know exactly who Lamar Jackson is. We know exactly who these NFL players are. We're not playing the game that the media wants us to play, that all of these NFL players or a handful of these NFL players on each team are some kind of business moguls who we need to be conferring with before making business decisions. These are overgrown children that play a game for a lot of money, and we've got one of the biggest overgrown children in Lamar Jackson. We love him, but we got some things we need him to do this offseason. And so this is going to get very interesting here in Baltimore this offseason. But let me play one more clip about Lamar being a part of the head coaching interview process. Let's play shot number 3.
I think that Eric made it clear to Lamar that when we get down here talking to him, I think he's texting Lamar after every interview, whether it's Zoom or in person. And I think he's getting some opinions from Lamar. I said to Lamar last night, when they call me up from Florida, you better get your ass up here too. Because if you want to do the interviewing, these are going to be full-day meetings like they were 18 years ago. And they go from department to department to department, right? So I said to Lamar, you can jump on my plane or find another way to get up there. But if you're that interested, then we're going to get a schedule. He's going to call me up. He's going to offer you the same luxury. And I said, I hope you take it. And he said, yes, sir, I think I will. So we'll find out.
Let me translate. Lamar, hiring a coach is hard work. It's full days. If you have an interest in being this, if the media has gassed you up into thinking that as a black quarterback and as the only unapologetically black quarterback, you must exercise say-so over this head coaching interview process. Lamar, you better be willing to put the video game, the PlayStation controller down and hop on a plane and come up here and put the work in. If you're not willing to do that, just keep playing the video games. We'll handle this and we'll introduce you to the new coach. That's what Steve Bisciotti is saying. And it's very appropriate and very necessary because all of these black athletes have been gassed up by the Ryan Clarks, the Stephen A. Smiths, the LeBron Jameses, player empowerment, and you must exercise say-so. But they want to play video games and hit strip clubs. They're young people. I say that really with no disparagement. I used to be that young person. I sat in my basement when the new college football game for EA came out one year. I sat in my basement for like 36 straight hours building a Ball State dynasty. This is me in my 20s, early 30s. Sat in my basement building a Ball State dynasty football team. I've done it. And then the only break that I would, man, should I put this controller down for a hot minute and go to Diamond Joe's and go holler at so-and-so? That was the only thoughts that ran through my mind. And so it sounds like I'm being horribly critical of Lamar Jackson. But it's like, I know Lamar Jackson. I've been in that mindset. I've been that stupid that you are when you're young. And I know plenty of NFL players, they got monopoly money. And Steve Bisciotti has it figured out. But everybody in the media wants to pretend like, oh, man, these are Rhodes Scholars. And, yeah, I know they put gold in their mouth. They wear all these big gold chains, and they tat themselves up, and they spend 3 hours a week sitting between some woman's leg as she braids their hair. But these are really just geniuses. These are really just, the next Barack Obamas. He's not pretending. He knows who Lamar is, and it could get Lamar into trouble because I want to play this next clip where he talks about hey, Lamar's our quarterback, but here's what Lamar needs to do. He better sign this contract and not drag this thing all out like he did previously. His mama and Lamar need to come here, get this contract settled so that we're not fussing with this the entire offseason. But he laid down the law here. Play shot number 4.
Steve, do you sense an urgency from Lamar to sign another extension? And are you 100% sold that you want him to be the central figure in the organization for the foreseeable future?
I want him to be my quarterback. Excuse me. I want him to be my quarterback. I told him his extension was, we had some mechanism to keep him in place last year that we don't, or 3 years ago, that we don't necessarily have now. So I need to make sure that there's only one way, if he doesn't want to do an extension, then we throw those $74 million out in the void years, and Lamar's coming back at the same cap number he was last year. You know, you can play with that money all you want. That's not what we want. You know, we want another window, and Lamar knows that. And I think that he's amenable to doing something that mirrors the last deal he did, although the annual number will be a little higher. But I'm hoping that it's plug a new number in the same contract he signed last year and move on. And the urgency of that matters to me because we've got free agents, and I don't want to go into free agency with that hanging over our head. And I made that clear to Lamar, and I think he was very appreciative of my stance, and hopefully willing to work with Eric and not get this thing dragged out into April like it was the last time. Very hard for him to build a roster when that thing is not settled.
Did y'all catch that? This white man is not playing with Lamar Jackson. And I apologize for throwing race into it, but I got to say, I'm really impressed with Bisciotti here. There's no fear here. And he knows exactly the environment and what he's dealing with here and how the whole conversation in the NFL and by the media, everything's race. And the owner is supposed to coddle. Make sure you don't say anything that can be interpreted as a lack of respect for Lamar Jackson. This man sat there with Eric DeCosta and said, look here, man, Lamar Jackson, I'm translating here, I'm putting words in his mouth, but no, he's not our central figure. I want him to be our quarterback. Do you know how we've won Super Bowls here before? Do you know who our central figures were when we won Super Bowls here before? It wasn't our quarterback. It was our greatest leaders, Ray Lewis and Ed Reed. The people that actually came into this building, first people in, last ones out, always had a little iPad studying the playbook, the people that put the most work in. So it would be great if it was our quarterback, but we don't have that situation here. We have a quarterback that likes to play video games, likes to stay up late at night, doesn't want to hit the practice field until 1 p.m. The man, he's speaking nothing but truth here. And he's telling Lamar Jackson and Lamar Jackson's mama, I don't want to be playing with this contract deal during the whole offseason. We went through that. We're serious about winning Super Bowls here. We're now coming into season 9, and we haven't had postseason success, and we've had some of our most talented players. What did he say at the beginning of these clips? Our most talented players that don't do things during the regular season, that they end up doing things in the postseason that cost us games. If you missed this press conference, you missed the press conference of the entire NFL season. Steve Bisciotti and the Baltimore Ravens have said, hey, we love you, Lamar, but the kid gloves are off. You got to be all grown up now, Lamar, and we know that's tough. And so we're going to put the message out in the media, and hopefully the media is smart enough to catch wind of it. But we're done playing with Lamar Jackson. He's got to be a grown man here, handle his contract business, and if he wants any sort of say-so, and we don't want any leaks, we don't want anybody, Lamar, anybody in his camp, his mama, or anybody in his camp saying, well, y'all didn't let Lamar interview this coach or that coach, or Lamar should have had a say. And the man's like, nah, man, if you want to have a say, bring your rear end to Baltimore and spend these full days with us putting in the work evaluating these coaches. Wow. This was an incredible press conference. I want to play. I think I got one more here. And he makes it so that a baby can understand what he's saying and what he's trying to accomplish with this press conference and where they're at with Lamar Jackson. He spells out, hey, man, I got the power here, bro. Lamar's got some say-so. These players have some say-so, but I got the power. Let's play SOT 5.
When it's all said and done, how much of a say will Lamar have in the head coach selection?
A lot of say, but he has no power. I have the power. They have opinions, and I want them all. I care about my players very much, but I can't give them power.
Now, let me conclude my wire analogy. Avon Barksdale had a sister named Brianna, and she was one of his, or maybe his top consigliere. And her son, it was Avon's sister, Brianna. And it was her son, D'Angelo, that Stringer had killed. But she had influence over Avon. And so Lamar's mama has some influence over Lamar. She's basically the Brianna. It gets kind of confusing because actually Lamar is actually Stringer Bell and not Avon. But my point in all this is, if Lamar doesn't man up and be like, Mama, I get it, but I'm my own man now. I'm 8 years into this. Is Lamar 30 by now? I think he's close to 30. 8 years in the league, he should be very close to 30. It's like, hey, I'm a grown man. 29. He's 29. He needs to keep his mama out of his business, in my view, or he's going to have major conflict with Steve Bisciotti and the Baltimore Ravens starting this offseason. If he doesn't keep his mama in her emotions, and if she doesn't handle what was said in this press conference well, if she's turns into a negative influence on Lamar, and she gets gassed up by the idiots on ESPN and other places that talk about player empowerment and Lamar must have influence and they need to listen to what Lamar said and it's everybody's fault but Lamar. She gets gassed up and gets defensive, and how dare this white man sit on TV and say, my son's not the central figure. How dare this white man say, he's got no power. He's got some say-so like a handful of other guys in this locker room. If she gets upset because Steve Bisciotti makes it crystal clear, we don't have a Ray Lewis situation here with Lamar Jackson. We have a great quarterback who likes to play video games, who can't stay healthy for 17 games, particularly now as he ages and takes more hits. We want to keep this quarterback, but we're not going to treat him like he's Ray Lewis or Ed Reed. He's not the central figure. He's our quarterback. We're willing to accept that and his limitations as a quarterback, that he's not a leader. We're willing to accept that. He's got to let us build around him because he doesn't know what he doesn't know, and he has no idea what it takes to build an organization or a system or a coaching staff around him that accentuate his unique athletic gifts without exposing his weakness as a leader. offseason just got real interesting. The most fascinating player in the National Football League the last few years just had his owner put him on the spot. It'll be interesting how the racial idolaters react to this. If they can smell what I smell, conflict brewing, if Lamar doesn't fold up and fall in line. Don't listen to Ryan Clark and the other idiots who think they know more than they do, and they don't. Is Steve Kiim ready to roll? I don't even have to go anywhere. Steve Kim's ready to roll. Steve, what do you think of my take on Steve Bisciotti and Lamar Jackson? Unmute yourself, Steve. That'll help. Unmute yourself. There we go, buddy.
All right. Well, as I was saying, with much power comes much responsibility. And what I heard from the owner of the Ravens, Mr. Bisciotti, is we gave you a lot of power and your responsibility was to bring us a Lombardi. Now we got rid of your nemesis that you don't want to admit was your nemesis. Now it's on you. And Jason, listening to your monologue, great job. You made a lot of great points. It got me thinking about a lot of different things. But the highest paid employee is generally very important. You know who's more important? The people that pay him. And that was Bisciotti's way of saying, I own the team. This is about me. And so all of that, believe it or not, got me to think when you were going on about my beloved Lakers. Now, as a Laker fan in recess still, I used to be a diehard fan of this organization. Two things come to mind. Your all-time favorite athlete, Magic Johnson, in his second year, crossed swords with his head coach named Paul Westhead, right? In fact, he flat out wanted him out. And this is after winning a championship. Didn't like the system where everyone had to run to a place. And Magic flat out said, I'm not having fun. This is terrible. And Jerry Buss had to make a very difficult decision. And I think he felt like, you know what? Magic's given me a championship. And I don't like this style either. So we're going to make a move. And Magic, for about 4 or 5 months early on in his career, was actually a very unpopular figure in LA. People forget about that. He was actually booed off the floor when he threw up the air ball in the deciding game of the first round of the playoffs against Moses Malone and the Rockets. Now, it ended up working out down the line when Westfall got fired, or Westhead, the next season, and Pat Riley eventually took over. The other situation that it reminds me of, the summer of 2007, Kobe Bean Bryant went on a campaign to try to get himself traded or to leverage the organization. And Dr. Jerry Buss said one thing to Kobe Bean Bryant. He said, Kobe, you are a great Laker. You're our most valuable asset. But I'm going to tell you this right now. I own the team. I'm going to do what's right for our organization. And you are a 24-karat diamond. But that does not mean I'm just going to trade 3 8-karat diamonds for you. But again, ultimately, you are the player and I am the owner. So whatever we do, we might trade you, we might keep you, but just let this be known, I'm going to make that decision. I think Bisciotti went through all of that in the last few days.
Steve, you raise an interesting analogy because so many of the football players, or in particular the ones talking on TV, the former football players, they want to have the same power as the basketball players. And where a Magic Johnson or an individual player, a LeBron James, a Magic Johnson, a Kobe Bryant, has so much influence over a team and an organization. There's only 5 players on the court at one time. There's only 15 guys on the roster. But the NFL players will never have the kind of leverage, or shouldn't have the kind of leverage, that an NBA player has. And so where you could say, because I'm thinking through your whole point, is where you could say Tom Brady and the conflict that eventually arose between he and Bill Belichick, people could say, well, Brady won. And Belichick should have ceded some power to Tom Brady. But I think the real thing here is that Lamar Jackson isn't Kobe, isn't Magic, isn't Tom Brady, isn't LeBron James. He hasn't produced championships.
Rings matter. People have to understand Magic Johnson was the MVP of the first NBA Finals in his rookie year, 79-80. And the other background was that Magic was extremely close to Dr. Jerry Buss. So he had more influence in the background. And that actually caused an issue with Kiim, by the way. Because if you go back to the history, and I've read about it, Magic early on got this unprecedented 25-year, $25 million deal. I remember reading about it as a kid saying, wow, $25 million, this money's gone nuts here. And the other Lakers, specifically Kiim, had an issue. So think about this, Jason. Even players who, quote unquote, had the empowerment actually drew the ire of other players. Now let's go to a more recent example where a player thought they were going to leverage their position as a franchise quarterback, and what happened? I still remember 4 or 5 years ago, Deshaun Watson he thought he was going to tell the McNairs how to run the Texans. Remember all that? Remember he thought, I need this guy. How'd that work out? Wasn't a happy ending. Was not a happy, well, no. Yeah, sorry.
Honest to goodness, though, how do you think this plays out? Do you think Lamar and his mother just fall in line? Or, I mean, are they wise enough to fall in line? Or will the Ryan Clarks of the world gas them up into perhaps overplaying their hand?
I would hope that they understand their best place is still Baltimore. That's where they've grown up. That's where they've developed. They've run their offense through him. They've catered their offense to him. He's this close to being one on the Mount Rushmore. But Jason, I go back. When Harbaugh replaced Brian Billick, I don't remember all these stories of, or these questions to Bisciotti. Have you talked to Ray Lewis about this? How does Ed Reed feel about? What about Jonathan Ogden? Have you consulted him? No, it was like, let the owner who pays the bills make that decision, because we'd have to be naive to think that Bisciotti is not thinking in his own mind, okay, whoever I hire, I would much rather have them be a good fit with Lamar than not. I mean, let's give Bisciotti a little bit of credit here. He's run a very successful organization. Sometimes you're better off where you are. The grass is not greener, but I love the way Bisciotti, I think he subtly hinted, Lamar, you may no longer be in your physical prime. We may have actually, now here's another point. I think they wasted the last 2-3 great years of Derrick Henry. And I think that has to eat at them too. Because the way Henry ran the ball the last couple of years, that guy was still outstanding, and you got nothing out of it.
I don't think the tread is off Derrick Henry's tires. I think he'll be great again next year, but you're right, with a running back, you never know when they'll fall off that cliff. It just happens. What did you make of the non-confrontational comment that he made about Lamar Jackson? I hear that as he's a weak leader.
Well, or maybe he's not a leader. Maybe he's just a guy that fits in.
Yeah.
I don't, the thing that gets me is there were reports that him and Harbaugh and Monken did not see eye to eye with Lamar. And I get it. He wouldn't be the first and only player not to get along or have a perfect relationship with either an assistant or a head coach. So when Bisciotti talked about it with them in private, it became, no, I like those guys. I like that. I think there's an underlying subtext to what he said in terms of non-confrontational. I really think that Lamar might have been better off. Yeah, I think I've gone. I can't do this anymore. I think Bisciotti in his own mind may think, I would have rather have had you said that, and then we could start anew.
The other thing I thought was powerful is when he was central figure. No, I want him to play quarterback. I want him to be our quarterback. I thought that's telling.
Let's go back to Tom Brady. Tom Brady, I think, has an argument, and I think most people would say it, he's the greatest quarterback ever, and therefore the greatest player ever. I don't happen to agree with it, but that doesn't matter. But during that unbelievable run from 2001 all the way to 2018-19, he actually took less money, but I never ever heard of this story. Well, an important decision coming up for Bob Kraft and Bill Belichick, and they will be having a powwow with Tom Brady to discuss it. No, Tom Brady did one thing, Jason, get this. He played quarterback. He was just not an important player, but nonetheless, just a player.
Fine. Last question on this. Do you think Bisciotti and other NFL owners have a sense that, hey, man, this whole player empowerment thing and this whole player, we need to put our foot down? Do you think it? I mean, this is an hour-long press conference. You got to watch the whole thing. He keeps coming back to these themes. This wasn't all said in one little 5-minute chunk. I think it was calculated to let everybody know, like, hey, man, this whole player empowerment thing, pipe down. I'm the owner. I'm the billionaire. These are kids.
The further we get from 2020 and what was going on politically, socially, and culturally in that time and place, the more there will be, as you like to call, a factory reset. There are employers and there are employees, and there is a line between the owners and the players. The players make a great living, but they don't put up any of the financial risk. Now, they put up the physical risk, but again, they do that willingly. No one is forced to play football. So here's what I think is really interesting. If you are a player, as you mentioned, that has championship pelts on the wall. So let's say you're a player and you're the central franchise individual that you are responsible for a couple of trophies in that front lobby. I'll give you a little bit of a say. I will. But I do wonder if Bisciotti, what he was saying was, Lamar, we've tried it your way. We've catered to you. We've given you everything you wanted. You have not delivered. You are not Ray Lewis. We're back in charge now. We did it your way. Now we're doing it my way.
Steve, before I move topics, because I want to talk some about Mike Tomlin. We're about 24 hours removed from that news, but I still think there's some meat on that bone. Before I do that, though, I want to thank our primary sponsor, Preborn. You guys know how I feel about preborn, how we feel about preborn, how we feel about life beginning at conception. No organization supports that worldview better than Preborn. Preborn provides expectant mothers who are considering abortion. They provide them an ultrasound. They introduce that baby's heartbeat and image to the mother while the baby's in the womb. That mother is now twice as likely to choose life. She's twice as likely to understand that that's not a fetus, that's not a clump of cells, that's a baby that I've been blessed with in my body. And that's when Preborn steps in, steps up, provides that mother and child for support for up to 2 years. They do that because we support Preborn. Each ultrasound costs $28. We pay for that with our donations. And so whether it's $28 and you pay for one ultrasound, or whether it's $140, which pays for 5, or $280, pays for 10, or $2,800, which pays for 100, whatever you can afford to give, make your best gift today, or do as I do and others do, give a monthly gift. Give a monthly gift to Preborn. You can do it by going to preborn.com/fearless. That's the way I prefer to give. Preborn.com/fearless, or dial #250 and say the keyword baby. Thank you, Preborn, for being a partner for us on the show and letting us participate in your life-saving mission. All right, let's return to the show. Steve, Mike Tomlin steps down and resigns. Were you shocked, surprised by this?
No, I really didn't. It had that Andy Reid in Philadelphia feel at the end. Highly successful run, but even a good coach with a very good organization, it can just get old. It can get stale. The messaging becomes something that gets very clouded, and players stop responding. Sometimes you just need a fresh start. And the manner in which the Houston Texans just mollywopped Pittsburgh, and the game, look, the score was lopsided, and it didn't really reflect even how badly the Texans really outplayed the Steelers. And I did not see a pathway unless the Steelers were going to tell Tomlin, we're going to give you a 3-year grace period to rebuild this. Because we've been in this abyss of 9 to 10 victories, early playoff exits, and it's rinse, wash, repeat. And I think the fan base of Pittsburgh, which not too long ago was chanting fire Tomlin, I think everybody here needed an amicable parting of ways.
Couple of interesting comments have been made from Emmanuel Acho and Aqib Talib, former NFL players, being critical, really, of Tomlin in a way we haven't heard from the media, and particularly from anybody black in the sports media. It's almost like, now that he's been fired, I can finally say what I really think. But Emmanuel Acho, we'll play these back-to-back, says that Tomlin's not an innovator, and Aqib Talib questions whether Tomlin's an all-time great coach. Let's play those clips back-to-back.
Mike T shouldn't be sad. Steelers fan base shouldn't be sad. Mike Tomlin is obviously an incredible coach, and he's done incredible things for the Steelers. But not only is it a young quarterbacks league, it's an innovative coaches league. And the fact of the matter is, Mike Tomlin has no longer proven to be innovative. It's 2 years now that Tomlin hasn't had an elite defense, and he is a defensive coach. So how in the world are we watching a football game with 2 head coaches and the best defense is being coached by the side that isn't Mike Tomlin's? Mike Tomlin probably has the worst defense in the playoffs in the AFC. Make that make sense. But he's a defensive coach. Mike Vrabel's defense is better than his. DeMeco's defense is better than his. Sean Payton's defense is better than his. Hell, Sean McDermott's defense, oddly enough, is better than his. And I'm missing several. So I just don't know what Mike Tomlin can still hang his hat on, if you will, to want to stay in Pittsburgh and vice versa, 2-5.
Should Mike Tomlin be considered an all-time great coach?
Nah, he one of the best of his era, for sure. But all-time great, you can't put him in that boat, man. You only got one chip. Head coaches are y'all stat is chips. Y'all don't run the ball, you don't throw the ball, you don't catch the ball, you don't get picks, you don't block, you don't do shit, you don't tackle. Your only stat is chips. So if your name ain't Chuck Noll, Andy Reid, Bill Belichick, goddamn Joe Gibbs or Bill Walsh, then you're not an all-time great, because them the guys who got 3+ chips. Them the all-time greats. They done did this shit and won chips the most out of any coach ever. So if you ain't got 3 at least, you ain't an all-time great. You could be the best of your era all you want. You know what I'm saying? You just wear that jacket.
Who made the better point, Acho or Talib?
I think they both did, actually. Your guy, William Sharp, that I respect. I remember 3-4 years ago, William Sharp would do video breakdowns on Twitter. Warren Sharp, yes, about how easy the Steeler defense, and I believe the coordinator at the time was Keith Butler, how easy it was to exploit. And now there's a former player who played in the league, Braden Fajoko, doing breakdowns right now, giving graphic evidence that this is a very simplistic defense, that with just regular motion, you can figure it out. So the innovative part, I think they make a point. Acho does a good one. As for the all-time greatness, I can't argue with Aqib, because if you're talking about all-time great coaches, Jason, let's go back to like modern day, starting with Vince Lombardi, Landry, Noll, Gibbs, Walsh, right? Then obviously Belichick, and then Andy Reid, and then maybe even Sean McVay if he adds another one. Based on achievements, you cannot put, now Mike Tomlin's still a Hall of Famer, probably, right? But I wouldn't put him in that class.
He's a Hall of Famer based on, there's 2 things. They've lowered the standards for being a Hall of Fame coach.
Okay.
And he's never had a losing season. Those will be his calling cards. Well, look, if Dick Vermeil, if Bill Cowher, if who am I forgetting? Dick Vermeil, Bill Cowher. Oh, if Tony Dungy, these guys with 1 Super Bowl are in the Hall of Fame, how can I not be?
Right.
I would, the 1 Super Bowl coaches, in my view, and that even probably includes Tony Dungy, shouldn't be in the Hall of Fame. And I'm talking about, I love all those guys. Love them. Vermeil, Tony Dungy, love them. But once in one Super Bowl, and look, the guys like Vermeil, who took two different teams to the Super Bowl, have a better case than the guys that won one Super Bowl with one franchise and never did it with a second franchise. It's so he's gonna get into the Hall of Fame, but I think Talib is 1,000% accurate. Not, would he crack the top 10? I think no.
Because how do you judge Marv Levy, who went to 4, right?
Ahead of Tomlin. 4 appearances is better than one Super Bowl on a coach's
Another
resume.
guy, Bud Grant. Bud Grant went to, I think, 4. And then, of course, a guy that actually won 2, the great James William Jimmy Johnson. Hall of Fame.
Hadley, and we may get to this tomorrow, but I think the more provocative statement is,
he's not a Hall
can
of
we
Famer.
name 20 coaches or 15 coaches that are better than Mike Tomlin?
And
have better
so,
resumes?
Jason, now, do you want to go just Super Bowl era? Because then you'd have to put Paul Brown. Paul Brown is one of the godfathers of football. He's got to be very
George
high.
Halas. Doesn't George
George
Halas?
Halas. Oh, boy. John Madden. Now, Madden was like one of the biggest winners by percentage, had to take on the Steelers, and he has a Super Bowl ring. Keep that in mind.
Hadley, Peyton, start cooking up a top 20 list. We may circle back to this by the end of this show because we might be able to name 20 coaches.
Yeah.
If you're not in the top 20, what are you?
I mean, Jason, how do you judge Barry Switzer with one Super Bowl? There's an asterisk by that, but same as Tomlin, right?
I can't go there. I'm not gonna go there. Man, this whole thing has made me forget my train of thought. Let me because I want to move on, and I want to move on away from football. But before that, I want to take a brief break just to promote something we got coming up on MLK Day. Delano Squires and Chad Jackson, we are going to have the ultimate debate about the legacy and the history and the influence of Martin Luther King Jr. Let's play the promo.
I still have a dream.
To put it frankly, pride has become the new black.
Realize that, no, King was just as radical as the rest of these other people.
That one day, this nation will rise up and live out the true meaning of its creed.
So if someone says that King's a Marxist, I just ask for the evidence.
You're somebody who's pro-black, you should want to hear this story.
Free at last! Free at last! Thank God Almighty, we are free at last!
All right, Steve, I want to circle back to a topic we did earlier this week, or yesterday actually. Pat McAfee ripping the sports media and saying that the sports media, many of them hate sports. And he did this because of this Lynn Jones Turpin and the controversy around her comments to Leon Cohen at the press conference after the Jaguars lost. Let me just reset a little bit. Let's play SOT 6, Lynn Jones's comments. Let's start there. Play that.
How you doing today? Lynn Jones, Jacksonville Free Press News. I just want to tell you congratulations on your success, young man.
Thank you.
You hold your head up, all right? You guys have had a most magnificent season.
Thank
you.
you.
And you did a great job out there today.
Appreciate
so you
it.
just hold your head up, okay?
Thank
and
you,
ladies
ma'am.
and gentlemen, Duval, you the one, all
Thank
right?
you, ma'am.
keep it going. We got another season, okay?
I appreciate
Take
it.
care and much continued success to you and the entire team.
Thank you, ma'am.
Nice.
So that's
nice.
her, and
Nice
that
moment.
sparked a controversy, a debate over social media, whether that's appropriate or not. I don't think it was appropriate. Pat McAfee, let's play this clip so we get the full context. He defended her by taking a shot at the rest of sports media. Let's play SOT 8.
Post out this morning about it because I've thought about it a lot. I've wondered why our show works. I've wondered why people like our show, legitimately. I have been so baffled by the fact that this show And we would like to let you know we are so thankful that we get to do this show. But why is this show having the success? And I think it's because most of the people that have been covering sports for a long time, not most, sorry, a percentage larger than you would hope, much larger than you would hope, that chose to do sports journalism. I think they don't like sports. I think these people hate sports. I think they're political journalists by nature who preyed on sports as an easier path to be able to get into the biz. You know, sports journalism is everywhere. Sports media, bum, bum, bum. I don't think they like sports. I think they cover sports. I don't think they like sports. So whenever you're always looking to kill something because you don't like it, I don't know if that should just necessarily be the only thing considered as journalism. Like, how about we just learned how Liam Cohen, who might be a GOAT when it's all said and done, which is what Lynn Jones.
Yeah,
hey,
you're the one.
Nobody expected this out of you guys. He might be a GOAT whenever it's all said and done, which means there'll probably be documentaries, there'll be entire things about Liam Cohen. They'll be able to now know exactly how he was in one of the most miserable moments of his life because Lynn Jones provided him with a compliment. He was classy, he was had a lot of humility. He did not bury her, he did not get uncomfortable, he didn't deflect, he didn't do anything. He was just a humble, classy dude in a miserable time. Whenever he knows that he let down his team, he let down everybody. He feels terrible in that moment. So I hated the grandstanding about how that's terrible. That's good for sports, okay? Sports are supposed to be an uplifter. Sports are supposed to be a unifier. So if somebody who just so happens to have a pen or a microphone in front of them wants to say something positive about sports, that should be allowed. I don't think that should be something that's necessarily, hated on. But I guess if you go to the same exact journalism schools and you're all taught the same exact things about what you're supposed to do, whether it's sports or politics or medicine or all this shit, you're automatically going to be trying to pick things apart because everybody's in investigative journalism, which I respect the people that do that. I think they make the world better, but it's like, not everybody has to be a miserable prick. Mm-hmm. Like that isn't how you have to be. Sports are allowed to be like that. So I thought that was a good moment that happened for all of society to realize how some of these people are. Like, these people are just miserable. So whenever you're reading something happens and you're reading their angle, it's like they were not going to be able to find something positive in anything, like at all. So just remember that as we go forward.
Steve, I'm not a fan of McAfee preaching to the media. I think that there is an element of truth in what he said. There are too many people in the sports media who don't like sports. I get that and don't know how to be fans. But I also think there are a lot of people, and I put McAfee in this list, who are in the sports media solely for the profit, solely for the fame, solely for the popularity. They don't understand the role of the media, the importance of the media. And they're just here, hey, this will be fun, this won't be work, and I can make a lot of money. And I think that group, and there's more in that group than the hate group, and I think that larger group is probably a more negative influence on the sports media than the hate group.
Well, I think a lot of what Pat McAfee said has validity. I actually agree with it. But where I do differ is, I actually believe a lot of the people that cover sports at a certain level don't hate sports. I think they like sports in general. I don't know if they have a passion for it or great knowledge. Here's what I think, Jason. I think they have a contempt for the fans and the American public. And they use sports as a proxy to push their political and cultural agendas. And they absolutely hate their audience. They really do. Because they cannot get over the fact that people are going to disagree with them in terms of things outside of the realm of sports. Now, Jason, you and I disagree. What Lynn Jones did, I wouldn't have done it. You certainly wouldn't have done it. TJ Simers wouldn't have done it. You know what? I actually agree. I think it's a bit overblown. She's the older auntie. Give her some grace. It was a human moment. We all could have rolled our eyes. But you know what? It's not like everyone was doing it. I don't think it was that big of a deal. I really don't. And now I
don't either. I don't think it should have led to some national discussion because this goes on all the time.
Yes,
she's not the first to do it. And again, the people coming from the black newspapers that are financially distressed and need access. And again, I'm just going to keep it real. This is a woman. She doesn't know much about sports.
Right, but Jason,
go.
I think it would have been more of an issue that if it was a black coach, she said it to. But the fact is just this white guy she's probably never heard of till 12 months ago, that she just looked at him as a human being, like, you're a young man, it's disappointing. Keep your head up. I'm thinking to myself, well, wait a minute. Maybe she just has some empathy for a young man. Now, if it was just a black coach she did that for every time and she grills the white guys, now it's an issue. Now, could you imagine if she would have said that to Tom Coughlin in 1999, how that would have worked out? But still.
So here's, I'll repeat again, because I think you've really made an excellent point, a clarifying point about what McAfee's talking about, because you're dead right. There is contempt for the audience, for sports fans.
The general public.
There is hatred of sports fans. The athletes have it. People in the media have it. McAfee's probably got a little of it, but he pretends not to because he's got a large audience and he doesn't want to turn them off. But yeah, there is this privilege or just condescension towards sports fans, and I've felt that since I was a young person, long before I even knew I wanted to be a journalist. I sense like, man, the people in the media, they really don't like me, because if they did, they'd be asking the people running the Indiana Pacers the questions that I want asked, why this organization sucks. And so I think you're 100% right on that. But look, the Lynn Jones, should it have blown up into this super big deal? No, because I think anybody that's covered sports for a long time, we've seen this a million times. But I do think, since it's become a topic, I do think it's worthy of discussing, in the sense that, hey man, let's keep this in perspective, McAfee. Everywhere Leon Cohen goes in Jacksonville, he's getting patted on the back. He's earning millions of dollars. He's getting whatever seat he wants at a restaurant. He's not paying for those meals at restaurants. He's worshiped around Jacksonville. And so after a playoff game, the media is given 15 to 20 minutes of access to Leon Cohen to ask him questions about what just happened in that game. And they don't want to waste any of those 15 to 20 minutes, even with 30 seconds of silly questions that go nowhere, or not even questions, just statements. Her hopping up for that 15, 20 minutes, because trust me, everywhere he goes in Jacksonville and probably anywhere else, he's going to get patted on the back and he's going to be celebrated. And so we don't need to throw a pity party for Leon Cohen, and he doesn't need to be glossed or glazed by this woman who's in over her head. And so I just think I took it as an opportunity to educate people on and McAfee and others that have no idea what the media are actually supposed to do. And we are supposed to challenge the powerful. That is our job. And we're supposed to do it on behalf of the ordinary, normal American citizens, sports fans. We get a brief opportunity to ask Leon Cohen about that job, and she got in the way for 30, 40 seconds. And look, Pat McAfee has no real interest in being a journalist or being a part of the media. He wants to be an influencer. And being an influencer requires access to these athletes. They need to all come on his show. They need to all be good with him. And that's what he's most concerned about. And so he's an influencer with a big following. He has no interest in being a journalist, which is, again, he's not trained up to do it. He's a former NFL punter. He's a jock. And the entire industry has been taken over by jocks. And if you expect jocks to police themselves, it's not going to happen. If you expect jocks to hold other jocks accountable, it's not going to happen. Or what we'll get are jocks that will what we've gotten to this point is jocks that will hold jocks of the opposite race. And this, as the black athletes have moved into this media space, they're very willing to criticize and hold accountable white coaches and white athletes. They have virtually no interest in holding accountable or questioning black athletes. For the white athletes in the media, they operate a bit differently, but they've been bullied, and they're afraid of their audience. They're captured by their audience, and they're afraid of getting on the wrong side of black Twitter and black social media that will frame them as racist and the worst people on the planet if they happen to question the wrong person. And so for ESPN to give McAfee a platform to point his finger and wag his finger and criticize the sports media, I just think that's all a mistake. And so, Steve, I don't know if you got to hear any of that because we lost you. Did you get to hear any of that?
No, but I want to make this point about McAfee. I think he's actually pretty authentic. And look, I know when you make that much money, it's hard to be the average Joe. I get it. And he still lives upon an ivory tower. He's part of the 1% now. But I get the sense he likes a ball game. He likes meeting people. He's pretty out there. I don't think that he has this snooty, arrogant attitude. I really don't. And maybe I'm wrong.
He's got some Charles Barkley in him. You're right. He's got some Charles Barkley in him. You're right.
And I find it to be refreshing. I mean, I don't know if you know this, Jason, but during the playoffs, if you want to watch the alternate broadcast, I think it's on ESPN2, you can actually hear him and his crew announcing the game right from the back of the end zone. I've done that for a couple of the Miami games. And you know what? I find it enjoyable. It's just like 4 or 5 guys, a couple of them who played ball, giving you their view of the game. I think Darius Butler's on there, A.J. Hawk. And you know what? It's fun. I actually enjoy it. So I don't know. I don't think McAfee means to be preachy. I think he's just giving a commentary like, give this lady a break. It's just a game. Nobody died here. It's not that serious.
That's one thing. If he had said that, hey, give this lady a break, no one died here, no problem. He went to, you guys hate sports. You guys are the problem. You know why my show is popular is because I'm this, that, and the third. He put himself on a pedestal. And so, Steve, I think this is really, really important because what McAfee has done, he's taken the baton from Charles Barkley, who has been the most successful former athlete to transition into broadcasting and to state opinions, not just on the game, but, you know, he's an opinionist. He's not just a game broadcaster. And McAfee, not being the kind of accomplished player that Barkley was, is more hesitant to criticize the current players. And so he's got the Barkley authenticity. He's got the Barkley likability. He's a fun guy. You see him out and he's authentic. But he doesn't have a big pair of balls like Barkley because he doesn't have Barkley's playing resume, and he doesn't want the heat that comes along with criticizing the current players.
And you know what? I don't disagree with the single thing you said, but I think that also may speak to Pat McAfee's self-awareness. Like, well, wait a minute, what's my resume? I mean, Barkley, you can argue, is a top 10 player, so his license to criticize, I think, is much more vast than Pat McAfee. Now, I want to say one thing. There have been times at press conferences to guys I've covered, guy gets beat up or gives a great effort, whether he win or loses. I'll preface my question by saying, hey, great effort. I hope you're, like you'll say, then you ask a question. These guys get beat up, they get hit in the face, they put all their effort. It's hard, especially if you get to know a fighter. Like you've covered them from the 4-round level, you see them develop, you get to know them, you go to the gym, you develop a rapport. And I'm not excusing anything, but maybe Lynn Jones has been treated really nice by the coach, Liam Cohen. Maybe Liam always answers her questions really. It's hard. I mean, we are still human beings, and I don't think it's the worst. And I know you said this. It's not the worst thing in the world to have a decent human moment, even in these settings.
Steve, I think even in these settings, there's opportunity for that. Do you know how many times we're at a press conference? Let's say the Chiefs had just blown the game. Marty Schottenheimer is getting asked questions, and I'm asking several of these questions. And then when the press conference breaks up, people walk up to the table and grab their tape recorders, or Marty's walking out, and me, someone who was known as this huge jerk, but I liked these guys. I liked it. And you would say to Marty, hey, man, oh, man, tough break, man. Great season. Sorry, things didn't work out here, but next year you'll be back, blah, blah, blah. You see him in the hallway, in the building. You see him post-practice, and you make all kinds of comments, supportive comments, human comments. To all, again, how else would I be friends with Derek Thomas if everything that came out of my mouth towards Derek Thomas was some sort of negative question? It wasn't. So you have these human relationships, but during the actual press conference, you're respectful of everyone's time and what this limited opportunity we have to ask real questions, and you stay within those parameters. This woman is at the press. She has an opportunity. She lives in Jacksonville. She can pat Liam Cohen on the back at some other time rather than during the press conference. And I don't need someone like Pat McAfee, and this is the point I was making, he's not a journalist. He has no interest in being a journalist. He's an influencer. And the thing that I'm concerned about, as the baton gets passed from Charles Barkley to Pat McAfee, is the sports media is all going to be following, and these companies, they're all looking for their Pat McAfees. And the bros, the brohards is what I would call Pat McAfee. He's a brohard. And that's what everybody's looking for. And journalism is being squeezed out for influencers who are always going to use their influence to cape up for the athletes and the powerful people and the people in control of the purse strings.
I do not disagree. But that was like 25 seconds. I get it. I can't actually argue with anything you said. I'm getting soft in my old age. What can I tell you?
Hey, we're going to jump ahead here because I think Skap is here, and I want to jump ahead to the Lakers and LeBron James and Rich Paul. Skap, welcome into the show. And so I can't remember. Yeah, this is actually excerpts. There's not a clip here from, I think this is Rich Paul in an article being quoted about, nope. That's LeBron. Do we have the Rich Paul clip? Do we have a clip from Rich Paul? No. Yeah, we do. All right, let's play the Rich Paul clip where I think he's suggesting that they trade Austin Reeves, and then LeBron is distancing himself from it. Let's play the Rich Paul clip first.
If I was the Lakers, I would probably be targeting the Memphis Grizzlies as a trade partner
for
Jaren Jackson.
Yeah, that'd be a great fit.
I would.
For whom?
Well, that's the thing, because you got to figure out the package. This comes with
Austin Reeves.
This comes with a very unemotional attachment because Austin is beloved, which he should be.
But he's about to get paid.
He's an underdog. And here's the thing: if there's a world where you can do what's best for your team and do what's best for Austin, because Austin deserves to get paid. Right now, I love him as a Laker, but if that is a situation where we getting balanced, because if you put all the money into just the backcourt, and then you're kind of like your flexibility is restricted going forward to fill out the rest of the team, then that's kind of like riding when you used to have the training wheels on your bike, but the one training wheel is off and it kind of leans. That's kind of like that.
It's hard in the NBA with the
It's
aprons
very hard. Yeah,
to have
it's very hard.
redundancy.
But that would be
like if you have redundancy on your team.
All right. So that's Rich Paul suggesting they trade Austin Reeves. LeBron has come out in an interview and distanced himself from Rich Paul's comments. Let's read the quote. "I think you all know by now Rich is his own man, and what Rich says is not a direct reflection of me and how I feel. And I hope people know that. I hope people know that if they're not sensible to know that, then I don't know what to tell them. Rich, that's what he's doing. That's his whole thing. That's what he's doing. That's what he's talking about. But I have zero conversations about what his topics are going to be or what they are going to talk about. He is his own man, and that is his problem. AR, Austin Reeves, knows how I feel about him. All you got to do is look at us on the bench. Me and AR talk every single day. So AR knows how I feel about him, and I hope AR or his camp don't look at me and think this is words from me are coming through Rich." This is the first time I've seen LeBron be this kind of transparent and defensive, and I actually believe LeBron, and let me tell you why, Scap and Steve, you're already nodding your head. I believe LeBron. What I believe here is Rich Paul has gotten delusional. As LeBron James's career is coming to an end, and LeBron James has clearly lost power and leverage in the NBA and with the Lakers, Rich Paul actually thinks his agency and his brand and his relationship with Adele and all that, Rich Paul is feeling himself. And this, and I made this, I bet neither one of you have ever watched the show Power. Power is the wire for retards. Can we put up the little graphic I had made for, if you've seen the show Power, there was a white guy named Tommy, black dude named Ghost. They were best friends, built this drug business, and then I think in the 6th season, they got at odds and started trying to kill each other. But anyway, Rich Paul and LeBron James got the exact same thing going on. And as I told you, Power is the wire for retards. So here's this big overgrown basketball retard. Here's the little midget sports agent retard who was selling T-shirts out of the back of his car, who now thinks he's some business mogul and business savant. Don't you know how many T-shirts I sold out of the back of my car, and now I'm an agent? And eventually these two guys are going to split apart and have a feud where LeBron has to fully distance himself from his midget Frankenstein that he created. Steve, you got the most disgusted look on your face, so I'm going to start with you, your reaction.
You know, there's a Laker that should be traded for the good of the franchise, all right. And if you asked 1,000 Laker fans, 2,000 of them would say it's the carpetbagger from Akron. Who thought this was a good idea? And wait a minute, are you that naive, Jason? I cannot believe that you're going all Lynn Jones on me. You don't believe that Rich Paul and LeBron have had these discussions. Man, we got to get rid of AR, man. Yeah, you're right. You don't think that discussion has never been had by those two, and Rich Paul was not intelligent enough not just to keep that in the bud? Really? And the other
Here's
thing
what
is,
I think, Steve. You could have the discussion without ever thinking Rich Paul would utter those words publicly in any capacity.
Right.
Because you got if I told you my private thoughts and discussions I had about this woman or that woman or whatever, where I'd be having it's like, and then you went somewhere and talked about how I feel about Tamron Hall or whatever, I'd be very upset. Or I can't.
Well,
let me give you another name that'll
to be
irritate
fair,
people.
you've
Is
made
it
those
Ryan
thoughts very
McEnany, Kylie McEnany's sister or something? But if anyway, I'm joking. But I just don't think he expected Rich Paul to talk about it. This is you and your boy have a conversation. You don't want everything going public.
Well, before I hand this off to Cap, who I'm sure has a lot to say, I recommended a book to Cap called Hollywood Ending.
Scap.
And it was a very good book. I forgot the author's name, but it was about the last 5-6 years of the Lakers' dysfunction since LeBron James came into my organization and made me a Laker fan in recess. This is just another chapter of that book.
Scap, your thoughts here. Who's right, who's wrong?
Jason, I don't know. I think you're maybe Steve and I are giving LeBron and Rich Paul too much credit. Maybe you're right. Maybe we're inferring that these guys who are like the ultimate puppet masters of the NBA that have been since 2012, maybe you're right. Maybe they're both just idiots and neither one of them saw this coming. Perhaps. Maybe I have to rethink and reevaluate my whole take on this on the fly, because when I'm looking at this and when I heard these comments like a week ago, obviously I'm thinking, well, LeBron James sanctioned Rich Paul to make these comments on the podcast that Rich Paul only has because he and LeBron thought that would be a good idea too. I mean, this would be quite a power move, I would have to say, to go back to your show analogy, by Rich Paul. This guy who was literally, he's a construct of LeBron James. LeBron James built this guy to essentially help him collude around the NBA. And for whatever reason, the NBA continues to just turn a blind eye to it. They've allegedly done and conducted investigations into LeBron James's ties with Clutch Sports, and they find no wrongdoings or anything like that. And the way it's said, around Clutch hallways is that it's influence, not ownership by LeBron James. But everybody within the NBA, Jason, knows, everyone in NBA circles knows that LeBron James has been the primary recruiter for Clutch Sports, that he helped build Clutch Sports. I mean, are we really to believe that Rich Paul, a guy who at the time was like 32 years old, just started one of the biggest sports agencies in the NBA on his own, a guy, Jason, without even a college degree? Like, historically, agents are, lawyers or have law degrees to negotiate the rigorous contractual demands that go into executing these deals. Rich Paul really took one guy in LeBron James and now, like 12 years later, controls 200 other contracts within the NBA, over $1 billion on their book. Like, of course, this is all LeBron James, and it is a huge conflict of interest. We saw him kind of lead the way in that Anthony Davis trade, which brought LeBron his fourth NBA championship. So, look, ultimately, my point is, if Rich Paul decided to freelance and start this podcast on his own, and then is also making these commentaries and crafting these narratives behind LeBron's back, essentially, that makes LeBron look terrible. Well, yeah, we're in for a crazy power struggle now that's going to play out on, obviously, the public stage between Rich and LeBron. I don't know if I'm willing to go there yet with you. I still think LeBron is in some way manipulating this behind the scenes and building these commentaries. But hell, maybe I need to reevaluate and look deeper into this. Maybe you're right. Maybe these are just two idiots playing out their idiot feud for all of us to see.
Man, y'all going to force me to go here. Give me 60, 90 seconds to just try to, seriously, just help y'all understand. And I'm saying this with affinity and, but I just got to keep it real for y'all to understand. Yeah. Steve, you remember Uncle Jimmy.
Beloved Uncle Jimmy.
I love Uncle Jimmy, and I really do. And we since he's left the show, we haven't been nearly as close as we had been for 20 years. But, and I'm telling you, I love Uncle Jimmy. I'm not saying this to disparage. But again, there's a process that will happen when someone takes a unique chance on someone without the resume and without the qualifications, and you install them. You take a guy that's a sheriff at the Kansas City, Kansas jail. He's a sheriff in a jail. And you say, hey man, come out to Los Angeles. I'm going to put you on my sports TV show. And I'm going to write your scripts, write the jokes that you crack, do it. I'm going to control it and put you in a successful position. And I'm not saying this to brag. I'm just trying to tell you like what goes on. And did all that. And then I'm going to hey, when I leave, eventually I'm going to bring you to Nashville, put you on this new show, and you're going to make, and I'm not trying to, please, I hope people hear me in context, but you're going to make more money than you could ever imagine. And then that person loses their mind and wants to second guess you at every turn. And then wants to basically, hey, I'm your co-host, I'm your equal. It happens, gentlemen. And I could give you more stories. I could sit here, I could go all the way back to Kansas City. There was a dude in Kansas City named Greg Hall. He was some sort of traveling salesman, businessman that was a sports fan that I took a liking to him and his family, knew his wife, blah, blah, blah. And I made the Kansas City Star give him a job because he was some kind of sports fan. And then I made a radio station, 810 WHB, give him a nighttime radio show as a part of me doing the morning show. He lost his mind. And the guy ended up spending a solid 10 years. He launched when he got fired for pretending to be me, he then launched a website attacking me for the next 10 years. and so I'm just telling you, man, I could tell there was a guy named Woody. And I love Woody. This dude, not the brightest, because I got a soft spot, man, because I grew up at the Masterpiece Lounge. I got a soft spot for guys from unique backgrounds that aren't that smart. And Woody, he was a caller on my radio show. I put him in position. He was making money with advertisers, blah, blah, blah. Spins off the road. Woody, I love you, but I'm just keeping it real. Woody could barely write and started calling me and leaving me messages that he wrote most of my columns or that he gave me the ideas for most of my columns. Guys, I'm telling you, you don't know what you're talking about. Rich Paul has lost his mind, unqualified, given a position that he did not earn, and now he's dating Adele. This man was selling T-shirts out of the back of a car. He's 5'4", and he's dating Adele. And y'all think this man hasn't lost his mind and LeBron can't control him? Man, I could go on with more testimonies about what happens when you empower people and they lose their minds. That's what's happening with Rich Paul and LeBron James.
Jason, just asking for a friend. What is the URL or the address to that I Hate Jason Whitlock website? just kind of curious about that.
Greg Hall has now passed away, but I think it used to be called sportswaves.com. Anybody in Kansas City that's listening right now knows exactly what I'm talking about. Sportswaves.com, and then it was, I think it was GregHallKC.com at some point. But holy cow, man, you do people favors. And that's where the old idiom comes from, no good deed goes unpunished. And you do it out of love, and you do it out of belief. Because take Uncle Jimmy, and someone will probably send this to him, and he'll hear about it. But it's like, he did a great job when he would follow instructions and stick to the script. He did. And I miss Uncle Jimmy because he had some talent. But he got full of himself and wanted to put on a suit and be my co-host. And so it ended up having to end. And, I'm sure he's upset. I'm upset. I wish it hadn't ended. If he had played his role but got lazy, anyway, now, having given you guys that context, anybody want to recant their position? You think this little 5'4" guy go read his farcical book. It makes Stephen A. Smith's book seem like the grapes of wrath. And the guy's selling T-shirts out of the back of a car, and now he's some mogul running an agency and dating Adele. That's a recipe for delusion.
Scap, it's all you.
I mean, look, I have to say the Uncle Jimmy theory is compelling. I have to say I'm shocked. I'm reeling still right now Typically, I think pretty good on my feet. I generally stick to my guns on a take, and I definitely felt a certain way coming onto this show about the whatever's going on with this podcast and Rich Paul and the power move. But I got to be honest, I'm still reeling and shook by this Uncle Jimmy theory. Jason, you make some compelling points. I really do have to admit on this one. You have me second guessing myself, which is very unusual.
I'm going to give you one more. And Steve, and I shouldn't do this, but I'm going to do it because y'all got me out here. Steve knows this next guy I'm talking about. But the Curtis Schoon character, I go on his podcast out of a sincere of like, hey, man, I want to help you, draw some attention to you. I respect you. I think you have something to offer. I go on his podcast repeatedly. And then when I stop, because it's like I was between like, hey, what am I going to do from Outkick and move on, blah, blah, blah. But then when I stopped, this man has thrown like a 5-year tantrum of I'm the worst person on the planet and I'm nothing without him. And I'm just like, holy cow. And I just, people get delusional. And I made a mistake by referencing this last one because I've never seen anything like the social media tirade he's been on for 5 years. I don't know whether to feel sorry for him or to feel I don't know what, but I've seen people lose their minds. It happens repeatedly.
Yeah, that may or not be true, but here's the issue now. The Lakers have a problem. Austin Reeves is a pretty good player, right, Scap? I mean, he's a quality NBA player, one that I believe probably has a longer shelf life than LeBron. I think it's only human for Austin Reeves to be like, what's going on here? And Jason, I've referenced this to you before. When the Lakers came this close to making a trade for Roy Tarpley for James Worthy, in essence, after the 86 Western Conference Finals, there were a lot of rumors that trade, because it involved Mark Aguirre, was engineered by Magic Johnson because they were very close friends. Jerry West put a stop to it, said, if you make that trade, I'm going to resign. And Jerry busted, okay, we're not going to make the trade. I later read in a book a couple years ago that James Worthy flat out said, I have a question. Who runs this organization? Who makes the decision here? Jerry West, Jerry Buss, or Magic Johnson? These things have ramifications.
Look, Austin Reeves has been injured this year. If he wasn't, though, he would have been an all-star, and he probably would have made an all-NBA distinction at the end of the year. And here's the scoop on Austin Reeves. He's only making $13 million this year. He has a $14 million player option next year, which he assuredly will not activate. So he's going to be a free agent next season. The Lakers obviously want to retain his services, but you're right. Maybe this is driving a rift between he and organization. And then just on an overall point for the super agent Rich Paul, like, how did he think this deal was actually going to get made? Jaren Jackson Jr. is owed $186 million between now and 2030 to the tune of roughly $50 million annually per year starting next year. And again, Austin Reeves has an expiring contract for $13 million. Like, that deal just, it's impossible to make. If it's a sign and trade type situation, maybe for LA, but I don't understand why Memphis would want to make that deal. So it's just a weird and bizarre chain of events that Rich Paul, I have to agree with Jason, like, it doesn't really benefit LeBron James for Rich Paul to go on and make these comments.
Let me give y'all one last story and we're going to end the show. We got a producer named John Hadley. Guy barely graduated 9th grade. I do him a favor. Offer him a job. He had been unemployed for 2 decades. I give him a job here on this show. He's been emailing. Can we put the picture of Hadley up? He's been emailing the bosses at the Blaze here forever, trying to launch his own show. He doesn't want to replace this show. He just wants to do Fearless 2.0 with John Hadley. He's been emailing him for years. This is someone of very limited intellectual capability. that I did a favor giving a job. And it's blown up in my face. It happens time and time again. So anyway, we will.
Now, Jason, can we confirm John Hadley still actually does work with you, though, right?
Yeah, he still does. And I'm sure he's firing off another email right now, trying to do Fearless 2.0 with John Hadley. Look, this is the delusion. He's lost a little bit of weight, and so he looks better. That's actually a bad picture of Hadley. He's probably dropped 7 pounds since that picture was taken. And, you know, he thinks this is the face of podcasting, but these people are delusional. So it is what it is. That's it, and that's all. Thank you guys for playing along. Oh, is he ready to go? Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. We're not done. Corey Brooks is joining us on his, and actually I thought we were. Anyway, let's bring in Corey Brooks, Pastor Corey Brooks, the rooftop pastor who's doing his walk across America, raising money for Project Hood. Corey, where are you at this morning?
I'm in Montgomery, Alabama, but I want to start chiming in on the sports stuff too. I got a little sports knowledge I want to talk about on this walk across America. I want to chime in on LeBron and all the workings of what's going on out in LA. So check me in a little earlier next time.
Well, hold on for a second. So you done opened your mouth. Closed mouth can't get fed. You've opened your mouth. Let me. Since you want to talk, let's talk. Let's start at home with Caleb Williams, Gerald McCoy, former NFL defensive lineman, is saying that Caleb Williams is the greatest Chicago Bear quarterback of all time, just 2 seasons in. I think that's a statement about how bad the quarterback situation has been in Chicago. Do you agree with Gerald McCoy? Is he the best quarterback in Bears history?
Well, his resume is probably a little too.
Uh-oh.
I have some streaming problems.
I think we got you now. Go ahead.
Yeah, the resume for him is probably a little too early. We have to wait and see. There's a lot you have to do to overcome Jim McMahon.
Yeah, let's put our graphic up. We came up with a list of the top 5 quarterbacks, Bears quarterbacks of all time. Hadley did this, and I think he's got Caleb Williams number 4. He's got, do we not have that graphic? Yeah, let's put that up. We got Jim McMahon number 1, Jay Cutler number 2, Jim Harbaugh 3, Caleb Williams 4. I thought Sid Luckman played for the Bears. Did he not? I mean, Mitch Trubisky is number 5. That's a bad quarterback list. Are we missing anybody? Post-merger. Oh, post-merger. Are we missing anybody, Corey?
No, I think that list is pretty accurate. Caleb has a long way to go, but if he can win a Super Bowl, then we'll move him right on up the list. But right now, definitely Jim McMahon is at the top of any list that you would do for the Chicago Bears. Till you win a Super Bowl, I don't care what you do, you're still on the back. You're on the back end.
All right, so you're in Montgomery, Alabama. What are you doing there?
So our walk across America, we're in Montgomery, Alabama. We have a 54-mile stretch that we're getting ready to do. We'll end up in, in Salem, we're Selma, Alabama. So that 54-mile stretch that Martin Luther King walked, we're getting ready to walk it, and we're really excited about it. We got some people walking with us, and Monday will be Martin Luther King's birthday, so we'll end in Selma. Probably going to have an event for a bunch of young people on the bridge. We're working with the city on that. So we're moving right along, meeting a lot of people, getting our message out there about being responsible and not depending on government.
All right, probably since you're in Alabama and you're headed to Selma, this is probably a poorly timed question, but I'm going to ask it anyway, because on MLK Day, we're doing a special show on the Harmony Channel where Delano Squires and Chad Jackson are going to debate the legacy of MLK. That conversation has been bubbling up. What is MLK's legacy? Was he a Marxist? Was he a true Christian? I think he, denies the resurrection. He denied the resurrection of Jesus Christ and other things. What do you think of MLK's legacy, and is it worthy of debate, or should we just leave it alone?
I think it's worthy of debate. I think, there are some things that have become factual that a lot of people have been made aware of. A lot of people historically did not know some of the things about his Marxist views or his view about the resurrection. Now that that's been made known, I think there are a lot of people who will feel different about Martin Luther King and his viewpoints and where he stands and his legacy. So I'm gonna definitely listen to the debate. I love both of those guys, and I want to hear exactly what they have to say. But I'm sure that it's going to be something worth valued, and then people will really want to listen to it.
Corey, tell people where they can go to support you on your walk, and then we'll see you next week.
So projecthood.org, Project Hood, HOOD, projecthood.org. Thank you, and thanks everybody for donating and giving us time. I appreciate it, and thanks for letting me make a few sports comments.
Corey, we will see you next week. That's it, and that's all for us today. End the show by playing that MLK promo again. I will see you on the Harmony channel. I think it's me, Virgil, and Shamika. We'll talk about Scott Adams' death and the farewell note that he left that I made some comments about over social media. I didn't like Scott Adams, the cartoonist, the Dilbert cartoonist. I didn't like his farewell note. We'll be talking about that on the Harmony channel in, I'd say, 5 minutes from right now. But that's it, and that's all for us here today on Fearless. We'll see you tomorrow.
I still have a dream.
To put it frankly, pride has become the new black.
Realize that, no, King was just as radical as the rest of these other people.
That one day, this nation will rise up and live out the true meaning of its creed.
So if someone says that King's a Marxist, I just ask for the evidence.
You're somebody who's pro-black, you should want to hear this story.
Free at last! Free at last! Thank God Almighty, we are free at last!